In buildings and areas that have security, the camera is always rolling. Most of the time, the camera footage simply shows your everyday stuff, but there are other times when the camera will pick up insanely bizarre things. Sometimes those mysteries are solved, but sometimes they leave everyone scratching their heads. Check out these 5 mysterious events caught on camera and spotted in real life. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. The mysterious death of Eliza Lamb. This story is just a little horrifying and might make you cringe, but that's probably what you're here for. Just don't say we didn't warn you. A 21-year-old college student named Eliza Lamb was found dead in a water tank of a hotel, which was called the Cecil Hotel. Even though it's a bizarre thing to find someone drowned in a water tank, the mysterious circumstances that surrounded the case had captured national attention. The creepy part of this story is that her body was found only after guests in the hotel complained about low water pressure and a strange taste in the water. Yeah, the disturbing thing is, these guests were showering, brushing their teeth, and drinking the water from the tank where Eliza Lamb was found, floating naked. Her clothes, watch, and room key was in the water beside her. But that's not all. The strangest part comes when police are trying to figure out what happened to her and checked the security camera footage of the hotel. Lamb traveled to Los Angeles from Vancouver alone and went missing from her Cecil hotel room soon after she arrived. After a week searching for leads, the Los Angeles Police Department released a video of her last known whereabouts, security camera footage from inside the hotel's elevator. It was this video that sparked interest from amateur internet sleuths because of her seemingly strange behavior. Lamb pushes the buttons for several floors at once, then appears to hesitantly poke her head into the hallway and look quickly back and forth before backing into the elevator and ducking into the corner. The strange thing is that the elevator doesn't close. Even if you pushed all the buttons at once, the doors would soon close. Perhaps the elevator malfunctioned, or she had unknowingly hit the stop button. Her behavior is strange as she pokes her head out again and then leaves the elevator. In the next scene, it appears that she's gesturing as if talking to someone, but no one else can be seen in the video. But she disappears, and the elevator doors then close. It's interesting to note that the Cecil Hotel is where the notorious serial killer Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, lived in 1984 while he took the lives of 13 people. But what happened to Eliza Lamb? It was found that she had bipolar disorder and may have had a manic episode. But to this day, no one knows for sure what really happened. Number 4. Jimmy's Restaurant Ghost. They've been off our screens for a good few years now, but maybe it's time paranormal investigators Mulder and Scully returned to investigate a Luton X-File. It could be a prank by the staff at Jimmy's World Grill and Bar in Luton. The minute that people started looking at this was the minute that everyone thought it was a hoax or some kind of setup by the restaurant or a customer. And their head office assure me they've been left scratching their heads by unexplained activity at their restaurant. CCTV footage suggests that a poltergeist is on the loose in their restaurant. About 50 seconds into the clip, a chair appears to move on its own. Then a napkin flies up in the air, a menu shifts a bit, and cutlery and a plate fly off the edge of a table. The incident was brought to the manager's attention by a customer who was sitting a few tables away and heard a loud crash. When she turned around there, nobody was sitting at the table, which baffled her. She said that she instantly went over to the table where the incident had taken place to find a broken plate and cutlery on the floor. At the time, she didn't think much of it, but when talking to the staff about it a couple of days later, they joked about it being a ghost. Then, someone suggested looking at the CCTV on the closest camera to see if that table was covered, and to see if what happened was picked up by the camera. To their surprise, it was. The suspected ghost or poltergeist has created a lot of interest amongst the staff, and it makes locking up at night a little bit scary. The footage shows the chair, the menu, the napkin, and the cutlery all being moved by an unseen force. Unfortunately, it's difficult to rule out the possibility of a hoax because it's impossible to see what lies directly in front of the table off camera. Number 3. The mysterious disappearance of Lars Matank. In July 2014, 28-year-old German Lars Matank had a holiday with a couple of friends at Golden Sands in Bulgaria, a popular destination for young people from Germany and England. When partying on the beach, he gets into a fight with other tourists over football. Lars, being a fan of football club Werder Bremen, has a heated argument with supporters of the rival Bayern Munich team. The conflict ends up with a brawl, and Lars suffers a small injury to his ear. At the end of his trip, a doctor advises him not to fly, prescribes him an antibiotic called cefuroxime 500, and refers him to a hospital. When the holiday's over, he decides to stay in Bulgaria for further treatment. He rents a hotel room in the poor part of town and convinces his friends that they can leave without him. Just a day later, he shows extremely erratic and bizarre behavior, all caught on CCTV cameras, and then he vanishes into thin air. He spent a night at the hotel but got paranoid and scared. He panicked and texted his mom saying he didn't feel safe, that she should cancel his credit card, and that he was hiding from 4 men following him. He told his mother he was leaving the hotel immediately. The next day, he visited the doctor's office, but for reasons unknown, as soon as he got there, he suddenly got up and ran out of the doctor's office. This was also caught on surveillance footage. Now, this is where things get really bizarre. Lars is seen on the airport security footage walking into the airport with a red and black backpack, and he's also carrying a large duffel bag in his right hand. He's wearing a yellow shirt and dark shorts. He then stops and talks to a woman appearing to ask her something. He then arrives at the airport's medical services, where he spends about 45 minutes. It was then that a man walked into medical services and looked like a construction worker because of the way he was dressed. When Lars sees the man, he becomes anxious, mumbles something to the doctor, then sprints out of the airport, leaving his luggage and backpack behind. He then lightly jogged across the parking lot and jumped over a fence. He continued to run after this until he disappeared from the camera's view. This was the last time he was ever seen again. Number 2. Woman's killer stalks corridors in SWAT uniform. A mysterious event happened when a woman named Terry Bevers was stalked by a person wearing a SWAT or police uniform just before she was murdered. She was just 45 years old and the mother of 3 young girls. At 3:58 a.m., the church's motion-activated cameras show a person walking in the hallways of the local church. It's just 2 minutes before Terry arrives with her gear to set up a fitness class. For some reason, the video then goes black. An hour later, at about 5 a.m., CCTV reveals that a suspect wearing police SWAT gear walked through the hallways prior to Terry Missy Bevers, 45, is found dead by one of her Camp Gladiator fitness class participants at around 5 a.m. Police officers found broken glass on the floor and also found that nothing was missing. Terry, who had the nickname Missy, didn't seem to have any problems with anyone, and it left her husband baffled as to why someone would even harm his wife. Police say they found evidence of forced entry at the Creekside Church, which leads them to believe that Bevers may have walked in on a robbery. But if this is true, why didn't the suspect take anything of value? The suspect in the crime was never found, and the case is still unsolved. Now, investigators think that this was a woman dressed to look like a male police officer. It's interesting to know that you just can't go buy a police uniform without being an actual law enforcement officer. The crime happened in April 2016. It's been 2 years and there are no leads. It's possible that no one will ever know what happened. Number 1. Twins survive being hit by cars. In May 2008, a film crew was shadowing police and expecting to see a routine call on the M6 motorway in London. Instead, the crew of the reality show Motorway Cops was stunned by the bizarre situation that would play out before their cameras when they arrived to see 2 women, Sabina and Ursula Eriksson, dashing into oncoming traffic. The Swedish twins had reunited only hours before the strange event. From the moment they were together, they started behaving strangely and embarked on a spontaneous trip to Liverpool. The sisters were kicked off a tour bus when they refused to check their bags and began acting suspiciously. It was then that they decided to take a shortcut across the busy freeway. CCTV cameras capture the images of Sabina and Ursula creeping into the frame, hopping over the guardrail and running into the road without hesitation. Panic and chaos ensue as cars attempt to swerve out of the way to avoid the women. However, the sisters were unable to escape the fenders of the speeding cars. Police and paramedics soon came, and as they assessed the situation, it just got progressively worse. As police stood with the twins on the side of the road, Ursula suddenly dashed back out into traffic as an officer tried his best to stop her. She managed to get out of his grip and was struck by a car. She suffered serious injuries to her legs. Seconds later, Sabina followed in her sister's footsteps and darted out into traffic too. Her body slammed into an oncoming car, rolled up the hood, and flung into the air before smashing back onto the ground with a thud. The sound of screeching tires and screams rang in the wind as Sabina got right back up, rushed to the center median, and jumped back out into traffic again. Surprisingly, both twins survived the incident and were taken to a hospital for treatment and evaluation, but not without putting up a fight. The duo fought police and paramedics, insisting someone was trying to take their organs, and shouted at the individuals who were trying to help them. Doctors couldn't explain why the twins persistently ran into oncoming traffic, but some believe Sabina and Ursula had experienced a shared psychosis. The psychological disorder begins in the mind of one individual whose delusions are transmitted to another person. Following the shared psychotic episode, Ursula was hospitalized in a mental facility for 3 months. Sabina, on the other hand, was released back into society shortly after. Within hours of her release, she would murder a man who offered to help her, stabbing him 5 times. She fled the scene with a hammer while striking herself in the head with it.
Alright, Top 5ers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. Oh, but I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited thefinestpost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you will ever get to read?